You think you are in control of your life. You drive your car, pay your bills, and make your own decisions. But the absolute truth is far more brutal. The moment someone insults you, ignores you, or walks away, your entire world collapses. Your mood is ruined. Your focus is destroyed. Why? Because you have willingly handed the remote control of your mind to people who do not even care about you. This is the greatest paradox of the modern man. We build strong bodies and chase financial freedom, yet we remain entirely bankrupt in our emotional independence. Today, we are going to expose a hidden truth known only to a fraction of the population. We are going to dismantle the exact reasons why you suffer because of others, and I will give you 7 elite Stoic principles to make your mind bulletproof. This is not for everyone. Most will close this video and return to their cycle of anxiety and reaction. But if you are among the few who are ready to claim absolute power over your own mind, pay close attention. Leave a comment right now saying, "I am taking my power back," and let us begin. Before we dive into the 7 principles, we must examine the trap you are currently caught in. Modern society has conditioned men to be excessively vulnerable to external validation. We are subtly taught that our worth is tied to how much attention we receive, how our partners treat us, and whether our peers respect us. You invest your time, energy, and soul into someone, expecting loyalty and consistency in return. When they fail to deliver, you experience a profound psychological crisis. You ask yourself what you did wrong. You lose sleep. You let their behavior dictate your reality. This emotional dependency is a disease. It strips you of your masculine frame and leaves you reacting to the world instead of shaping it. The Stoic approach is not about turning into a cold, heartless machine. That is a massive misconception. It is about strategic detachment. It is about understanding that your internal peace is a sacred fortress and no one gets the keys without your explicit permission. You are suffering right now because you have placed your center of gravity outside of yourself. It is time to bring it back. The first principle of emotional mastery is recognizing the grand illusion of control. Most men walk through life believing they can steer the emotions, actions, and loyalties of the people around them. You think that if you provide enough, love enough, or sacrifice enough, you will be immune to betrayal or abandonment. This is a fatal flaw in your psychological framework. You are attempting to govern a territory that does not belong to you. When she becomes distant, or when a friend turns his back, your suffering does not come directly from their action. Your suffering comes from your shattered illusion that you could prevent it. You cannot control the weather, and you cannot control the internal weather of another human being. To think otherwise is arrogance disguised as care. Here is what separates a strong man from the rest. The elite man draws a brutal, uncompromising line between what is his and what is not. His thoughts, his reactions, his discipline, those belong to him. Everything else is external noise. The moment you accept that you have zero authority over another person's mind, you strip them of their power to destroy yours. Let us dig deeper into the myth of changing others. Society sells you the romantic lie that your dedication will eventually change a person. You stay in toxic dynamics, absorbing disrespect, waiting for the day they finally realize your value. This is emotional suicide. People operate according to their own nature, their own traumas, and their own selfish desires. Expecting a self-centered person to suddenly act with honor because you treated them well is like expecting a wolf to eat grass just because you offered it as salad. It defies the laws of nature. You suffer because you are constantly negotiating with reality, trying to force it to match your ideal fantasy. The elite Stoic does not negotiate with reality. He observes it coldly and acts accordingly. If someone shows you they are unreliable, you do not try to fix them. You adjust your distance. You protect your energy. You stop casting pearls before swine. When you stop trying to control their behavior, you instantly regain control over your own peace. You accept them as they are, and then you decide if they even deserve a seat at your table. Imagine your mind as a puppet on a stage. Every time you desire someone's approval, you hand them a string attached to your limbs. They pull the string of rejection, and you feel worthless. They pull the string of praise, and you feel euphoric. You are dancing to a rhythm, dictated by a capricious audience. The first rule demands that you take a sharp knife and cut every single one of those invisible strings. It is a painful process because the ego loves the illusion of being connected, even if that connection is destroying you. But freedom demands a price. You must ask yourself a hard question. Why do you need this person to act a certain way for you to feel whole? The answer usually points to a deep void within yourself. You are using them to fill a gap in your own self-esteem. Here is what separates a strong man from the masses. He refuses to be a puppet. He finds the voids within himself and fills them with his own purpose, his own discipline, and his own achievements. He cuts the strings, steps off the stage, and becomes the director of his own life. This brings us to the second principle, eradicating emotional dependency through the anchor of self-worth. Why do we suffer so intensely when someone leaves or disrespects us? Because we have made the catastrophic mistake of anchoring our value to their perception. If they love you, you are valuable. If they leave you, you are worthless. This dynamic places you in a permanent state of psychological fragility. You are like a stock market trader, constantly watching the ticker tape of other people's opinions to see if your stock is up or down today. This is an exhausting and pathetic way for a man to live. True stoicism demands that you pull your anchor out of the unstable waters of human opinion and drop it deep into the bedrock of your own character. Your worth must become an absolute constant. It cannot fluctuate based on a delayed text message, a rejected invitation, or a failed relationship. Your value is derived from your adherence to your own principles. Do you work hard? Are you honest? Do you pursue your purpose? If the answers are yes, your value is untouchable. The opinions of others become entirely irrelevant. The greatest danger in any relationship is the pedestal. The moment you place another human being on a pedestal, you force them to look down on you. It is a subconscious dynamic that destroys respect. When you elevate someone above yourself, you signal to them that you are of lower value. You become hyper-vigilant, analysing their every word, terrified of making a mistake that might displease them. This fear breeds anxiety, and that anxiety breeds the exact needy behaviour that drives them away. It is a self-fulfilling prophecy of suffering. You must shatter the pedestal. No human being is a deity. They have flaws, insecurities, and selfish motives, just like anyone else. When you view them through the lens of cold reality, the intimidation factor disappears. You stop treating their presence as a prize to be won and start evaluating whether they are worthy of your continued investment. Here is what separates a strong man from the rest. He views relationships as a mutual exchange of value between equals. The moment the other party stops bringing value or respect, he does not beg. He simply walks away, knowing his own worth remains completely intact. Building internal validation is not a psychological trick. It is a daily practice of keeping promises to yourself. You cannot fake high value. You must forge it in the dark when no one is watching. Every time you wake up early, hit the gym, complete a difficult task, or say no to a cheap distraction, you deposit undeniable proof into your mental bank account. You build a stack of undeniable evidence that you are a man of discipline and capability. When your confidence is backed by real, tangible actions, the insults or rejections of others simply bounce off you. Imagine a billionaire being told by a beggar that he is poor. The billionaire does not get angry. He does not suffer. He just laughs, because he knows his bank account is full. When your internal bank account of self-respect is full, the emotional attacks of others feel exactly like that beggar. You observe them. You might even feel a brief moment of pity, but you never, ever let it penetrate your armour. Your validation comes from the mirror, not from the crowd. The third Stoic advice is mastering the sacred pause. Life will constantly throw provocations at you. People will disrespect you, attempt to trigger your anger, or hit you where it hurts most. The natural, unevolved response is immediate reaction. You feel the heat in your chest, the adrenaline spikes, and you snap back. You send the angry text. You raise your voice. You try to defend your ego. And in that exact fraction of a second, you have lost. You have handed them the victory because you allowed them to control your nervous system. Between the stimulus of their insult and your response, there is a space. For the weak man, that space is non-existent. For the elite man, that space is an infinite playground of strategic choice. When someone attacks you, they are expecting a reaction. They want to see you bleed. They want to know they have power over you. By pausing, you deny them their prize. You take a breath. You let the emotional wave crash against the walls of your mind without breaching the gates. You observe the sensation of anger without becoming the anger. This pause is the ultimate display of psychological dominance. Let us examine the physiology of panic and anger. When you are ignored or rejected, your brain registers it as physical pain. The primitive part of your mind screams that you are being cast out of the tribe and you will die alone. This is why a simple unanswered message can cause literal tightness in your chest. The weak man surrenders to this biological panic. He double texts, he begs, he demands an explanation. He sacrifices his dignity to relieve the temporary anxiety. The Stoic man understands his own biology. When he feels that panic rising, he treats it as a fascinating scientific experiment. He says to himself, "Look at how my body is reacting to a minor external event." He does not identify with the panic. He watches it. He knows that emotions have a very short half-life if they are not fed with continuous thoughts. By refusing to act while under the influence of the emotional spike, he lets the chemical storm pass. Here is what separates a strong man from the masses. He never makes a strategic decision while in a state of emotional turbulence. He waits for the waters to calm before he plots his next move. The power of silence is arguably the most lethal weapon in the Stoic arsenal. In a world where everyone is screaming to be heard, silence is terrifying. When someone disrespects you and you respond with absolute unbroken silence, you create a psychological vacuum. Human beings hate a vacuum. They will rush to fill it with their own insecurities and doubts. If you argue, you validate their attack. If you explain yourself, you submit to their frame. But if you look them in the eye and say absolutely nothing, you project an aura of untouchable superiority. You communicate that their words are so insignificant, they do not even warrant the energy of your vocal cords. This applies to digital communication as well. The power of leaving someone on read, not out of petty games, but out of genuine indifference to drama, is immense. It protects your peace and forces the other person to reflect on their own behaviour. Silence is not weakness. It is the loudest, most dominant roar a man can produce. It proves that you are the master of your internal domain, and no external provocation can force you to break your composure. The fourth principle revolves around the mirror of projection. You must realise a profound psychological truth. How people treat you is rarely about you. It is almost entirely about them. Their relationship with themselves dictates their relationship with the world. When someone acts with malice, jealousy, or sudden coldness, your ego immediately assumes you are the cause. You ask, "What did I do wrong? Why am I not enough?" This is narcissistic suffering. You are making their internal chaos all about you. The Stoic understands that the human mind is a projector. People project their traumas, their failures, and their insecurities onto the people closest to them. If a woman is chronically unfaithful, it is not because you lacked value. It is because she possesses a fractured character. If a friend betrays you, it is a reflection of his internal poverty, not yours. When you internalize this concept, you stop absorbing the poison of others. You view their toxic behavior as a medical symptom of their own disease, rather than a verdict on your self-worth. Detaching from the outcome is a superpower that few men ever achieve. We are conditioned to be transactional. I do good things, so I must receive good outcomes. I am loyal to her, so she must be loyal to me. When the universe breaks this transactional contract, you suffer. The elite mindset shifts the focus entirely from the outcome to the action itself. You do the right thing because it is in your nature. to be a man of honor. You are loyal because you value loyalty, not to purchase loyalty from someone else. You give because you are abundant, not because you are secretly expecting a return on investment, when your satisfaction comes from the flawless execution of your own character. External results lose their grip on your emotions. If you act with integrity and they betray you, you do not feel cheated. You feel victorious because you maintained your frame while they revealed their weak character. Here is what separates a strong man from the rest. He judges himself strictly by his own actions, which he controls, and never by the responses of the world, which he does not. Building immunity to insults is a core pillar of not suffering because of others. When someone hurls an insult at you, there are only two logical possibilities. Either what they are saying is true, or it is false. If it is true, why are you angry? They have simply pointed out a fact or a flaw that you need to work on. You should thank them for the free audit of your character. If, on the other hand, what they are saying is completely false, why are you angry? They are attacking a hallucination, a version of you that does not exist. It makes zero sense to be upset over a lie spoken by a fool. This logical framework destroys the power of verbal abuse. You suffer because your ego demands that everyone sees you perfectly. Let go of that demand. Let people misunderstand you. Let them judge you. Their judgment is trapped inside their own heads. It does not physically touch you. It does not alter your reality unless you agree with it. By refusing to agree with their negative assessments, you render their words completely powerless. You become a ghost to their attacks. Their arrows pass right through you, hitting nothing but empty air. The fifth Stoic advice is the radical acceptance of loss. Most of your emotional suffering comes from the desperate attempt to hold on to things that are naturally slipping away. We treat people as if they are our permanent possessions, but the Stoic reality is harsh and liberating. Nothing is yours. Everything is rented. Your relationships, your health, your wealth, they are all on temporary loan from the universe. When someone leaves your life, whether through death, distance, or a change of heart, you suffer because you believe something that belonged to you has been stolen. But if you adopt the mindset that they were only ever a guest in the hotel of your life, their departure becomes natural. You enjoyed their stay, you learned from their presence, and now their checkout time has arrived. You do not cry when a guest leaves a hotel. You clean the room and prepare for the next visitor. This is not coldness. It is the deepest form of realism. Embracing the impermanence of all things allows you to love and engage deeply without the suffocating fear of future loss. Let us explore the rented room metaphor further. When you understand that people are visitors, your behavior changes. You stop suffocating them with jealousy and control. Paradoxically, the less you try to trap a person, the more they want to stay. Needy, possessive behavior is the repellent that drives high-quality people away. By accepting that they can leave at any moment, you remain sharp. You continue to build your own value. You do not get comfortable and lazy. You appreciate the current moment with them because you know it is finite. And when the dynamic turns toxic or the season ends, you open the door and let them walk out without a single tear of resistance. You say, "Thank you for the time," and you close the door behind them. Here is what separates a strong man from the masses. He never blocks the exit. He knows that his life is an elite establishment. If someone no longer wants to be there or violates the rules of the house, they are immediately escorted out, making room for someone who actually values the space. The ultimate negotiation tool in life, in business, and in relationships is the genuine ability to walk away and mean it. You suffer because the other person knows you will never leave. They know they can push your boundaries, disrespect your time, and cross your lines, and you will still be there tomorrow, complaining but staying. You have stripped yourself of all leverage. Power belongs to the person who needs the relationship less. This is a dark but undeniable truth of human dynamics. If you want to stop suffering because of someone, you must cultivate the strength to walk away into the unknown. You must be willing to endure the temporary pain of solitude rather than the chronic pain of disrespect. When you establish a firm boundary and enforce it by walking away, a massive psychological shift occurs. Even if it hurts, your self-respect skyrockets. You prove to yourself that you are your own greatest protector. The willingness to burn a bridge that leads to nowhere is the definitive hallmark of a man who has mastered his emotional fate. Our sixth principle involves focusing on the ultimate mission. A man without a clear burning purpose in his life will inevitably make other people his purpose. That is a tragedy of the highest order. When you do not have a mission that consumes your energy, you obsess over minor social interactions. You overanalyze a strange look from a coworker. You obsess over a woman who takes 4 hours to text you back. Your brain needs problems to solve, and if you do not give it a massive, meaningful problem, like building a business, mastering a skill, or forging your body, it will create artificial problems out of interpersonal drama. You suffer because your world is too small. When you elevate your vision and dedicate yourself to a monumental task, the trivial actions of others become invisible. You simply do not have the bandwidth to care if someone dislikes you. You are too busy building an empire. Here is what separates a strong man from the rest. His purpose is his primary lover. Everything and everyone else is just a complement to his grand journey, never the destination itself. Let us talk about becoming the alchemist of pain. The Stoic does not just ignore emotional pain, he weaponizes it. When someone breaks your trust or causes you suffering, you are handed a massive reservoir of raw, dark energy. The weak man uses this energy to destroy himself. He drinks, he complains, he stalks social media, he wallows in depression. He lets the pain rot him from the inside out. The elite man is an alchemist. He takes that dark energy and channels it directly into his growth. He takes the anger and lifts heavier weights. He takes the betrayal and works 14 hours a day on his business. He uses the rejection as jet fuel to build a life so magnificent that his enemies choke on his success. The best revenge is not an angry message. The best revenge is massive, undeniable success, combined with total amnesia of their existence. When you learn to convert emotional suffering into productive momentum, you become truly unstoppable. People can try to hurt you, but they will only end up making you stronger, richer, and more formidable. This leads us to the shield of indifference. There is a profound difference between hate and indifference. Hate implies that you still care. Hate requires emotional energy. If you hate someone who wronged you, they are still living rent-free inside your mind. They are still controlling your emotional state from a distance. True liberation is found in absolute indifference. It is the state where their existence means absolutely nothing to you. They are reduced to the emotional significance of a random stranger passing by on the street. Cultivating this shield takes time. It requires you to consciously stop feeding the memories. You must aggressively redirect your thoughts every time their name enters your mind. You block, you delete, you purge your environment of their traces. Not out of anger, but out of a clinical need for mental hygiene. When you finally reach that state of cold, calculated apathy toward those who have wronged you, you experience a level of freedom that most men will never comprehend. You reclaim your territory. The seventh and final advice is forging the inner fortress. All the principles we have discussed culminate in this single concept. You must build a mind that cannot be breached. The inner fortress is constructed through daily voluntary hardship. You expose yourself to cold water, heavy weights, fasting, and intense study. You intentionally make your life difficult in controlled environments so that when the external world tries to break you, it finds a structure made of titanium. You suffer because of others because your walls are made of paper. You have lived a soft life seeking comfort and validation. The Stoic knows that peace is not found by hiding from the world. Peace is found by becoming so internally resilient that the world cannot disturb you. You train your mind to expect betrayal, to expect loss, and to expect hardship. This is negative visualization. When you have already mentally rehearsed the worst-case scenario, its actual occurrence loses its shock value. You nod, you say I expected this, and you execute your contingency plan. Becoming the architect of your own peace is the final synthesis. You realize that no one is coming to save you. No one is going to suddenly treat you perfectly and heal all your wounds. The responsibility for your emotional stability rests entirely on your own shoulders. This is a heavy burden, but it is also the source of ultimate power. When you stop outsourcing your happiness to women, friends, or society, you take back the crown. You dictate the terms of your reality. You become an immovable object in a world of chaotic forces. Here is what separates a strong man from the masses. He is his own sanctuary. When the storm hits, he does not look for shelter in the arms of others. He retreats into the silence of his own mind, assesses the situation without emotion, and emerges with a ruthless plan of action. He lives by the 1% rule. He controls his perception, directs his actions, and lets the rest of the universe burn if it wants to. He is free. This is the culmination of your emotional reconstruction. We have dismantled the illusions of control, shattered the pedestals of dependency, and laid the foundation for an impenetrable inner fortress. You now understand that suffering because of someone else is a choice. It is a choice to hand over the keys to your mind. Starting today, those keys belong only to you. You will no longer react. You will no longer beg. You will no longer tie your worth to the fleeting opinions of a chaotic world. You are the architect of your reality, operating on a level that 99% of men will never even perceive. If you made it to the end of this video, you possess an attention span and a desire for power that is exceedingly rare. Do not just listen to these words. Burn them into your psychology. Thank you for being part of this elite brotherhood of minds. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you do not miss our next strategic deep dive. Now I have a question for you. Which of these 7 Stoic rules hit you the hardest, and which one are you going to implement immediately? Drop your answer in the comments below. Stay strong, stay stoic, and never surrender your power.